Hello, welcome back to the Making It podcast. It's freezing. It's absolutely freezing. At the moment, we're recording in the morning this time on the Sunday, and it's been a good week. It's been a really good week. I think we've both been quite eager to come back and talk because I think this week for me, I don't know about you, Dan, obviously, but this week for me has been the best week in terms of getting stuff done and just all round feeling pretty good. Since we've started the podcast. So welcome back, Dan. It's good to be talking to you once again this week. I don't know how cold it is up in Newcastle, but it's pretty cold here, man.
Yeah, it's very cold here. Obviously, I was where you are not too long ago, but right now I'm just sat in my uni room. I'm back in Newcastle, so the listeners previously would have heard me from Nottingham, back at my home place. But now I'm sat in my uni house, in my uni room. I can see out the window the ice on the cars. The sun's shining though. That's something about being here. And I was speaking to a friend about it the other day. It's always sunny, but it's just always cold. Like, it's never really that miserable, but it's just cold. But I love being up here. So how are you today, Jamie?
I'm all right, mate. I'm all right. I woke up about so what time we record? About 10 to 10 at the moment. So I woke up about 8 o'clock. So a little bit early for me on a Sunday because I usually work in the morning. I had some breakfast. I'll probably have a coffee after this. Had a shower, just pretty standard sort of Sunday morning stuff, to be honest, mate. And I forgot to put the heating on last night, so I woke up, I got out of bed, and I'm like, oh my god, it's so cold. So yeah, bad mistake, by the way. Don't turn the heating off, or don't not put it on. Bad idea. But yeah,
I've got a question for you, just to bounce straight into it.
I think I'm about ready. Let's go for it.
What are you grateful for this week?
Do you want the funny answer and the honest answer? So I'm going to give you,
both.
For the comedic effect, I'm going to say espresso because...
I knew you were going to say that. I knew it.
I was going to say it.
I was thinking before you said that, I was going to talk about your newly found discovery at Espresso, and then you just say it just then.
Right, listen, before I actually say what I'm properly grateful for, because it is someone very close to me, I'm grateful for espresso because when I had this drink, you can laugh, right? When I had this drink on, I don't know if it was like the Tuesday or the Wednesday, I just went downstairs and my uncle always used to have an espresso downstairs, and I was like, this guy, I don't know how he does it. It's disgusting. And I went downstairs and had one. I usually have one before football, and that's the only time I'll have one. I'm like, oh no, that's horrible, but it gives me energy. I went downstairs on Tuesday, brought my iPad with me. I had one, and I was like, oh my god, like I was like, wow, like I could just do everything. Everything that I had to do that week was done within a day. All the phone calls I had to make. Obviously, I've moved house, so I've had to change the address with like the bank and all that sort of stuff, and a few like holiday bits because we go away in a week and a half. And I'm like, smashed it out. So if you haven't already, I'm just saying it might be worth just trying an espresso one time. But I
need to try it.
You do need to try it but then again, Dan, I know what you'd be like. Like, I think it might set you like cray. But the actual thing that I am grateful for, seriously, this week is my mum, because it was my mum's birthday yesterday. So I'm grateful that, I've got my mum in my life, because I know that not everyone's fortunate enough to have that. I'm grateful that I've got my mum specifically because, she supports me and sort of, she understands my ambition, but also gives me advice and, keeps me humble and keeps me motivated when things aren't going too great. There's been a lot of things in the last year that have kind of thrown me off a little bit, and she's kind of kept me on track. So there's many things that I'm grateful for in my life at the moment, Dan, like being happy and stuff. It's been a good week, but I would say the most grateful thing every week, not just this week, is I'm grateful for my mum. So how about you, Dan? What are you grateful for?
That's a really nice answer, man. I think obviously I've got to say I'm also grateful for my mum, my parents, my family, my friends. I'll class that as my support system. I like to think I've got a very good support system. I've got friends like you, people at uni, back at home, my family, people I can talk to, and I'll always get a good answer. So I'm appreciative of my support system, but it's very vague. But I'm grateful that I'm alive. I'm grateful for life. Something I've really been thinking about this week is
You love it, bro, and I know how much you fucking love it as well.
Something I've been thinking about this week is it's when I got back into my coaching this week, and just for the listeners to kind of gauge an idea of what my coaching is, because I spoke about it before. Every Tuesday we do training. Every Wednesday we have a game. So far as a coach, my record right now is 3 losses, 2 draws. So looking for that win when the new semester starts with playing. But this week we did training on Wednesday and we did training on Friday. And every time I go, I always just feel like I need to kind of like show I know what I'm on about, show I've got something to sort of prove. And it's good because it gives me that motivation to show I have something. I've got the ability to coach and put an impact on the team. But when I came back on Wednesday, I was just like, I just feel like high levels of confusion, almost that sort of like imposter syndrome sort of feeling. And I was speaking to Derek, one of the coaches, and I literally just asked him a question. And I'm pretty sure he said to me, "Are you confused?" And I went, "Derek, every time I'm here, I feel confused." And he was like, "It's good." He said, "Be a sponge." And Derek is someone where you want to be a sponge to, because he will just flow information. And I was going to go pick a football up to put in the bag. And I just kind of looked around me and I thought, you know what, I'm grateful for this. Like, one day I'm going to look back on this experience and I'm really going to be, wow, that was amazing. So just going on board with my coaching, I just want to keep learning, keep enjoying it. So something I'm just grateful for is just the fact I get the ability to experience life. And it's very vague, but it's just, there isn't like one particular thing I can pinpoint. I'm grateful for a lot of things. And I guess that all goes into one thing, and that's being alive. Every time I ask my granddad, like, "How are you?" My granddad, Ron, he'll say, "I'm alive and breathing." It's going back to the basics. And yeah, I'm just grateful, and especially being up here, something I'm really, something a bit more specific about being up here is it's been really nice being near my granddad, Tony. I was with him on Tuesday. We went for a pie back at my work. I went back to work last night, and he battered me at pool.
I was going to wait for you to say the pool bit, bro, because I was not going to let you get away with that without saying that.
We played 8 games, he won 6, so I'm sure if he's listening right now, he's laughing. But yeah, I'm just. It's just nice being back here because it gives you that time to sort of reflect on how things are. So I've got a question for you. I feel like, how much do you feel like you reflect in your life? Because I know what you're like. You're very driven. You're always on the go. You're always doing something, and it's a great personality trait of yours. You've always got something going on. But how much do you feel like you reflect?
Not enough. And even with taking things for granted, I know we all go, "Oh, I'd never take this for granted," because people go, it's what people want to hear. People, when they post something, when they're somewhere, when they're with their parents, or they post something and they go, "I'd never take this for granted." But then they do, like we all do. Do you know what I mean? I take time with family for granted. I take doing the things I love for granted, and it's something that I'm definitely working on. But in terms of self-reflection, and in terms of like, do you mean like in terms of like me coming home after doing something or finishing something and being like, what do I honestly think about that, and taking a moment to think about it?
I mean, I guess that what you just said there was like a daily reflection. I feel like I kind of just mean how much you kind of sit back and go, wow, I've really got to this point now. Okay. I've really got to this stage. So say there was that one thing maybe a few months ago you were going for, and you probably hit that a few months ago as well. But now you sit here and you probably don't really think about it that much because it's something you've already achieved, because you're always thinking of what's next. You don't think about what's happened. And I'm not saying be stuck in the past, but I'm thinking I'm more going on the sort of perspective of celebrating those wins, if you know what I mean. So reflecting on those things you've done rather than sort of just like letting them pass by. Like, how much do you reflect on like where you've got to now? Do you get where I'm coming from?
Yeah, 100%. I do try to, I think it's more I'm reminded by people because I do self-reflect from a long-term perspective, but not as much as I should, and I probably should celebrate what I'm doing a bit more. But the way that my mind works, and I think it's probably just because of the nature of how what I want to do is, it's very fast-paced and it's very competitive. You've got to just work hard. Like, there's things that I'm learning now that I want to be better than other people at. Like, I want to be better, not because I don't like that person, but because I want to be the best that there is, because I've got an interest and I'm passionate. But yeah, I don't think I self-reflect enough. Definitely, I think, as I say, the way my mind works is there's always another thing to achieve straight after. So as soon as I've achieved something, my mind doesn't like pause for a minute and go, look at the journey. This has been amazing. I'm here, but I was down there, and I'm worked my way up this. It's like being halfway up a mountain. You know, I mean, some people would stop and be like, "Hey, look how far we've walked up this mountain. Like, look at the views and stuff." And I'm like, "No, I need to get to the next bit. You know what I mean? The next base camp. That's what I need to get to. Like, I'm not doing this stopping and looking around thing. I just want to go." Do you know what I mean? But it is important, I think, to, as you've said, to kind of like just take a second and be like, "Hey, look how far we've come. This is good." And then you can make that, that sort of next step. But yeah, I think sometimes my mind is just very fast paced and I don't like to slow down. So, because if I slow down, I feel like I'm not doing enough. So, something that I can work on, definitely, and I will work on it this year. But yeah, how about you? What are your sort of, because I know that you're quite I think you do self-reflect, at least from what I know. So do you self-reflect, and also, like, kind of going back to something I said earlier, do you take things for granted too, a little bit?
I feel like we all, like what you touched on, I feel like I don't think you can ever take away that we always do take things for granted. Like, I don't think it's almost like a given. It's like, even we get used to waking up, we get used to having a breakfast, we get used to the basics, which are actually a real big privilege. Like, it's a privilege to be alive. Do you know what I mean? And I do reflect because I'm aware of it, I do reflect to some extent, but I also think I could reflect more. It's like when certain things happen and I just kind of go, maybe there's something in my relationship, or there's something to do with my coaching, or there's something to do with my sports psychology or uni. It's like, let's take uni as an example. Right now, I'm halfway through my second year of uni, and I'm living in a house with my uni mates. And the other day, I kind of just sat there and I went, like, I'm at this stage of my life right now. Like, it's just, I can't believe I'm here. And like a few years ago, I was hearing other people going to uni and going into homes, and it's like, one day that's going to be me, but now it is. And then in a few years' time, of what I'm thinking of where I'll be in a few years' time, and then I'll get there and be like, wow, I'm here now. And that's why it's all about, enjoying the process and being present. And I do feel like I do reflect, but I also could reflect more because of those sort of situations where I just go, wow, like, I'm here where I wanted to be. And I just think it's a good thing to do. So anyone listening today, like, just think right now, what's something I've accomplished recently, or what am I doing right now, which I'm in a place where I wanted to be a few years ago, and celebrate it. Because I spoke about it on my Instagram before, and I spoke about it probably briefly on the podcast, but it always does feel like there's something more. And there always is. There always will be something more. And it's good to use that ability to push on. What's next? Where can I go next? Where can I push myself forwards? But it's also important to think about what's happened, because as well as thinking about what's happened, you can then think about what went well, and then put that on into going into what happens next. But I think it is just important to reflect, because we live in a society where things are always growing, and it's always about what's more. But just think about those small wins and celebrate where you've got to, and appreciate where you are. And then you'll enjoy what happens next a little bit more. And something I want to bring up is, I'm mentioning Derek again, but he just speaks pure facts, to be honest. Derek does.
He's a
legend. Just to make it clear, Derek's he's one of the coaches who is like mentoring me in a way when it comes to my coaching. He's the coach of the first team at Northumbria University. He's an absolute class football coach. And he said his favourite word is authenticity. And when he said that to me, I was just like, this guy really knows what it's about. And it's so true. There's so many different routes we can take in life. And it's so important that you take your own, because that's where you're supposed to be, and that's what you'll enjoy the most, and that's where the most fulfilling life is. And there'll be people sat there, and this is actually a really good thing to talk to you about. There'll be people sat there and they'll be thinking, I don't know what's out there for me. What do you think about this whole idea of purpose? I feel very fortunate, because I feel like I've almost discovered my purpose quite early on with the sports psychology and wanting to help others, and just, be as pure to myself as I can. But for those who kind of sit there right now and they go, I don't know what my purpose is. They're in that fog and they're struggling to get out, and it's a struggle. They're at that very beginning stage of that sort of journey of who they want to be. What do you think about that? Because I struggle. I struggle to to help someone out when they say, I don't know what my purpose is?
I mean, like, I feel like my purpose I've not yet discovered because I'm young, you know, because of what? We're 19. So if we were all clued up on what we want to be and what we want to do specifically now, I almost think that's like almost impossible. Do you know what I mean? Because someone will say to me, oh, I want to be in the army, but what branch? Do you know what I mean? Like what part of the army? The army isn't just, hey, I'm in the army now, done. You know, like, you want to work in football, what do you want to do? You want to do sports psychology, but like, what specifically? Do you know what I mean? There's different routes. So I think, like, in terms of like a purpose, there might be like a broad sort of pardon me, like, there might be a broad spectrum that you want to cover, like, if that kind of makes sense. Like, your purpose is to cover a certain thing in life, or you feel that that's what it is, and then it's kind of, as you age and experience life, you kind of you niche down. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think I can fully say what I want to do until I've traveled a bit more, until I've seen a bit more of the world, until I've lived a bit more independently, until I've struggled a bit more. Do you know what I mean? I don't think I can say that, because what I want to do is I want to struggle a little bit. I want to be in a difficult position and get myself out of that position and say, what do I want now? You know, I want to experience different, you know, job opportunities, and, you know, I want to work in my local corner shop. Do you know what I mean? For a few hours. I want to see what that's like again. Do you know what I mean? I want to work on the bar. Do you know what I mean? Of where I work now. I want to work in I don't know. I just want to do different things and just see what I want to do. Like, I know that I want to work doing something related to football, because for me, football is it's a getaway for me to just enjoy and do something I love. You know, and that is great. But you sort of, I feel like you might discover something as you work or as you travel that you might go, wow, actually, I want to do that. Do you know what I mean? And it might be something sports psychology related, or it might not. But I feel like you can't really fully, I mean, at least from my perspective, you can't fully understand your purpose and fully what you want to do in life until you've experienced more. So I feel like there's too much pressure put on people from well, like 15 to 20, you know, when you're starting to decide what you want to do for A levels, up until, you know, maybe the later stages of when you're at uni. There's too much pressure put on people to decide, what do you want to do now? Do you know what I mean? I feel like people are forced, like, you go one way or another. If you go to uni, you know, you go to uni, or you just go into work. Why can't there just be like let people just grow a little bit as people, and just let them find their own way, instead of putting so much pressure and telling people they aren't good if they don't go to the uni, or if they don't go into a certain job? Or, do you get what I'm saying? Like, I feel like people struggle to find their purpose because of what other people are saying to them and what society demands of them. It's just like,
Yeah.
do you get what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah. When you were talking there, it did make me think that maybe we're too attached to this idea of purpose. Maybe the purpose is just the here and now. It's like what I was talking about earlier about there always being more. You know, it always feels like there's an end goal. There's always something to reach. But what if that end goal is, there isn't an end goal, but the goal is to enjoy the here and now? It's
until the end.
Until the end, of course.
Yeah.
And I think it's important, because if we get lost in this idea of finding a purpose and always thinking, one day when I find that thing I really want to do, maybe when we find that thing, we won't actually have enjoyed the process of getting there. I'm trying to think of, I was watching this, it's like this film, that's the one. It's called Soul. It's a Disney film. I don't know if you ever watched it.
I don't know.
It's about this guy who wants to be in a jazz band, and he's like a teacher at school. And he really wants to make it. He wants to make it. If we're talking about making it, he wants to be a big, famous jazz artist.
Okay.
And then there's this already like famous jazz artist, this lady, and he meets her, and he finally got to like play in a band with her. And then I believe she says to him, he's on this journey of trying to he's a fish, and he's on this journey of trying to find the ocean, and that ocean is him being a famous jazz band artist.
Okay.
But then she says to him, what if you're in that ocean already? You know, it's like, I've seen photos before of a little fishy swimming through the ocean. It's like, I'm trying to find this big ocean, mate. You're already in it. And I think it does. I know for myself, it feels like there is a magnet at times, kind of drawing you always into this place where you're always going to get to this certain place, like an end goal. But then we don't enjoy the present moment. And I came up with a little story myself, and it's very simple. I call it the man in the rain. And there was this man in England, and it was raining and it was miserable. And he was like, "Oh, I've got to get away from this rain." So he jumps on a flight and he goes to Egypt. And he's like, "Wow, it's so hot and sunny here." He's on his way to the pyramids. And then it starts to rain as soon as he gets there. And then he goes, "Surely it won't rain in Spain." So he goes to Spain, gets off the flight, and it rains straight away. The idea is he keeps going to different countries, and every country he goes to, it's still raining. And it's almost that idea of we're always chasing something. We're always trying to get to somewhere. But what about just enjoying where you are right now? And I think the best way to do that, or a good technique to do that, is, they talk about mindfulness a lot. But I think it's just that idea of noticing things. Like when you're walking down the street, a lot of us can be headphones in, head down. We're not really looking around us. Just look around you. Look at the sky, look at the trees, look at the birds, look at the sun. Like, it's just, there's so many things around just to be appreciative of. And in terms of reflection, reflect on those things around you in the present moment. That's a great way to do it. Something I want to bring up that I've started this week as well is I've started another block of marathon training. Mm-hmm. So for the listeners, I ran the Loch Ness Marathon in September. Me and a friend Noah, we did a block of marathon training over last summer, and we ran the Loch Ness Marathon. And you know what? I'll talk about it for a little bit now. It was just the most surreal day. We raised some money for a youth centre called Club Rafiki out in Kigali, Rwanda. And Noah's grandparents are involved in this youth centre. They do like hip hop, basketball, all kinds of sports. But the girls didn't really have much kit. They were playing in barefoot when they were playing football. They had to use the boys' old like stinky used kits. So we raised some money, and we managed to raise £3,000 for these young girls. And it was just such a privilege and such a blessing, that experience. And it was just one of the best things I've ever done. But I just wanted to mention I've now started a new block of marathon training. Me and a few friends are running the Shakespeare Marathon in April, so really looking forward to that. Is there anything you're on a journey sort of right now, Jamie, where it's like maybe, because say with this marathon training, I did it in September and over summer, and now I've come back into it, and like I just remember starting it, it's like those sort of the joy of doing that kind of hit me back. Is there anything you sort of experienced where like a certain aspect of your life you really enjoy, or a certain challenge, and then you hadn't done it for a while, and then you got back into it and you were like, wow, I missed this. Like, why didn't I keep doing this?
Probably nothing work related, I don't think, because it's very rare I take more than like a week off to not do it. But I'd probably say football. I'd probably say football. You know how much I love football. I've never been great at football, but that has been the thing that I've enjoyed, not being good at football, because me not being good at football ever has basically meant that now I'm 19 and I want to get back into it. I've enjoyed that more. I've enjoyed that process a lot more. So, I've joined like a 9-a-side league in Hucknall. It's sometimes like 10-a-side, sometimes it's 5-a-side. And I enjoyed, after having quite a while off playing football, my mate ring me up and be like, "Hey, what are you doing tonight?" I'm like, "Nothing, mate. It's Monday. Come on, I'll pick you up at 7:30. We'll go and play football." I was like, "Okay." And you're just with a bunch of lads that are just want to go and play a bit of football, just finish work. Do you know what I mean? Some of them are literally rocking up in their work gear and getting changed playing football. And that was nice. The challenge of coming back after not playing for ages, having to get a bit fitter. You're playing with older people, so obviously you've got to be a bit stronger. You're playing on a bit of a smaller pitch, so it's a little bit different in terms of how you play. And it is competitive, but it's still very friendly. Do you know what I mean? And the thing I'm enjoying about not playing football at the moment is that I'm planning about when I come back. Like the injury to my ankle has just wound me up so much. It's wound me up, but I've kind of accepted it now. And I've kind of just accepted that, like, there is just these little bumps in the road. Do you know what I mean? That just happen. As much as I absolutely hate it, because I like having my routine. You know, as soon as you break my routine, it's just like, it's just the worst thing. It will just ruin my week. You know what I mean? So I have a set routine. You know, I clean my room every Sunday. If I don't do it tonight, that's ruined my week. Like, just from one thing. Do you know what I mean? No, probably not. But yeah, I enjoy the comeback. I enjoy the comeback from, you know, a long period of not doing stuff, and football is the one for me. But, you know, obviously, when I move to Australia in June, the thing I'm going to enjoy the most when I come home, I don't want to think too far ahead already, but because you should live for now, I feel like I've just taken it for granted already, even though I've not been. But the thing I'm going to enjoy when I come home is that kind of, right, hitting the ground running. Do you know what I mean? Like being back. Or maybe even going back there and having a new challenge there. But you get what I'm trying to say. Like that kind of comeback, I really enjoy. You know, and we kind of touched on it earlier, and I want to maybe ask something for you as well. I was going to ask you if you saw the Loch Ness Monster, bro. Not going to lie. But we were on a very serious trajectory, so I'll ask you that another time. But
I did, but it's got to be kept secret on this podcast.
Is it? Oh, okay. Okay. Well, if you are listening, you know, don't tell anyone, basically. Tell people about the podcast, but not this specific 26 and a half minutes in. Don't say anything about that. But we spoke about mentors. Now, probably my greatest mentor was my granddad. He passed away in 2019. And since then, luckily, because I believe there is a process in life, when you lose someone, I don't believe that their energy or their experience is just lost. Do you know what I mean? I feel like someone else comes and kind of takes their place as life moves on. You know, and I've been grateful to have a guy called Steve at NHR, where I do my radio stuff, that has helped me so much, and he's guided me through life almost like my granddad did, and he's guided me into a career pathway. You know, so you don't have to name them. I mean, it'd be good to name them because I want to give them credit. You know, like shout out to Steve. You know, he's been a great credit for me, a great mentor for me. But who are the big mentors in your life, and how important is it for everyone to have mentors, and actually not even just to have them, but to recognize that you have them? Because I think that's another thing people take for granted, is they don't look around the people who help them and go, hey, you're actually a mentor to me. You know, I wouldn't be here without you. You know what I mean? I feel like mentors are so important, whether it be in like a literal professional sense like you, where he's a paid mentor, or someone who is literally just a mate who you're like, I could consider them as one.
I'm really glad you brought that up, because it's quite funny. I was actually thinking about bringing this up myself. And I'm glad you also said mentors as well, because I don't believe you just have one. I think you have various, and I think my parents will always be a great mentor to me. I can say anything to my parents, and I know I'll always get something good back. You know, it's almost like a weight off my shoulders when I speak to my parents. So I'll always have to give a big shout out to them. That's a given, no matter what. And I think that goes for the rest of the family, you know, grandparents, aunties. But outside of family, I think there's two, and I hope I'm not missing anyone out, of course. And if I am, I'll mention it in another episode. I think there's two locally who I have to mention. And so back in, when was it when we were trying to go Cambodia? It was about 2019, 2020, wasn't it?
Yeah, 2020.
So 2020, me and Jamie were trying to go to Cambodia, and we had to raise, it was £4,000 to go. So
can I say something? Sorry, but I want to just say this one thing. The person who sold this to us, I like him, by the way. Dean's a great guy, but he said we've never had to cancel, and this is when I knew it was not going to happen. We've never had to cancel a trip. There's never been any major world problem that has made us cancel a trip. Well, guess what? COVID-19 happened.
So unfortunately we couldn't go because of COVID-19. But the idea was we had to raise money to be able to go. And I went round my block, and I was knocking on all the doors. Can I wash your car? Can I do some gardening? And I happened to knock on this guy's door, and he gave me 20 quid. His name was John O'Donnell, and he took my number as well. And I then went to do some decking for him at a garden out somewhere, and he paid me 100 quid for it. And then he had a hot tub business where he would service hot tubs, provide hot tubs, and I started to help him with that quite often. And over a summer, when I was in year 11, I did that work with him. But I would say he's a local mentor of mine. I still go to see him now and have a chat, and he'll be able to give me great advice and from his experiences. And so that's someone I've got to shout out. And someone else who also to do with knocking on doors. So don't just go knocking on random doors trying to find your mentors.
Yeah, please be safe.
I'm not saying go and knock on doors to find mentors, but I did have a purpose for it. I was trying to wash cars and do gardening. And with this one, me and a friend called Leo, we have a gardening business we do over summer. It's called LD Gardening. And we were knocking on doors trying to find clients, trying to find gardens to do gardening work for. And we knock on, and this lady comes out, and just such a wonderful lady who we've met through doing gardening. She's called Judy, and I know she'll be listening right now. So I just think it's been such a blessing to meet Judy, and something I think about her, which we've spoke about on this podcast. I think Judy has such a great ability to be able to notice and appreciate what's around her, because she was very grateful for us coming because we helped her out with a garden, and we now also just go to see her for a chat, and we speak to her and she tells us about her life experiences and give us both advice. But just how appreciative she is of life and of us coming round, and her garden, like even just a flower coming out the ground, like she just adores it. And it's just such a blessing that we've met someone like Judy. And I think mentors are a really good way to pick up things in life, and especially mentors who have experienced a lot of their life already. They have a lot to give. And I think, like you touched on, I think if we can give advice to people listening, speak to people in your life who have experienced a lot of life. Your grandparents being a very obvious example, because they've been there. It's like my girlfriend was saying, like when she was younger, her mum would give her advice, and obviously as a kid you kind of ignore it because you think, oh, I know what's right. But she realizes now, and it's so true, like your parents are right, and those people who have experienced life are right because they've been there. So use those people, because then it can benefit your life instead of you having to make those mistakes. You've already learned from someone else's advice. So I'm so fortunate that I'm grateful that you brought up mentors, because honestly, just reflecting on that, those two have been a great mentors for me, and everyone around me, my family and everything. Mentors are such a great way to be. And I'll even shout out my girlfriend for being a mentor to me. I can go to her for anything and she can give me the greatest advice, and she knows me very well. And you know what? Shout out anyone who's ever helped me. You, my friends, everyone. It's build a support system of people that care for you. And I'll say this right now: it's important that you surround yourself by people that care for you. And I think we all know it's pretty obvious when someone cares for you, because they do that extra mile, they do that extra effort, they send you those messages about how are you. Appreciate those people. It's a really important thing. Is there anything you want to particularly bring up, Jamie, from this week that's happened? Anything you reflected or taken on board from this week?
Well, obviously Forest won yesterday, so 7 in a row, by the way. If anyone's a Derby fan, yeah, you Reds. But I've got a weekly to-do list. There's only one thing that I missed off. I'm not going to say what that thing is, because it is a. Okay, I'm going to say what it is. But basically, I'm Dan knows it, but I've been doing my qualifications to do like football analysis, and I'm trying to do an actual game. So the company that I did my badges with offer you games every week, but I didn't do it this week, which was the one thing I said I was going to do. I've watched all the YouTube videos. I bought another notepad, Dan. I thought I'd let you know. I don't even know where I put it, actually, to be fair, but I bought a notepad. Have you got another one as well?
Yeah, I know. Another one. This is my original, but I still
hold on. Let me get it. Hold on.
I just had to say, every episode I'm going to have it.
You're going to have it every episode. This is it. Wait, hold on. I've got the poker pad. I'm not going to reveal what it says on the other side. Just a few things, but got another notepad, and I've got like another 2 on my desk. It's bad, but things that have happened this week. To be honest, bro, the final steps. Things are going to be a bit different in the next couple of weeks, because and until we will still be releasing on a Tuesday morning, so don't worry, we're going to be here. But was it that what are we doing? Are we recording it night, you day, or what?
Well, when you go to Aussie?
Yeah.
I think I'll be in the mornings, you'll be in the night. So we'll be recording when I'm 10 a.m. in England, then you'll be 8 p.m. in Aussie.
That's pretty sound, to be fair. Yeah, I'm excited. See, this is the one thing I'm also grateful for, is that we're actually we're going to Australia on the 22nd of January. So
not me, by the way, just Jamie.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, and I booked my haircut. Obviously, me and Dan go to the same barbers. We don't have the same barber though, but I reckon I've recruited half my friend group to get their haircut by Dom at Eaton Barbers. So go to Eaton Barbers, book in with Dom is all I'm saying.
Book in with Tyler.
Yeah, but with Dom. I think they're brothers, aren't they? I think they're brothers.
They're not brothers. Are
they not brothers, bro? I'm sure Dom's brother works there.
Dom and Ollie are brothers, but not
Dom and
Tyler.
Ollie, that's it. Ollie,
yeah.
Not Tyler. Ollie, that's it. Yeah. Definitely not Tyler now I think about it. But yeah, I booked my haircut in now. We're just doing the last minute stuff. I'm probably going to start packing this coming week. At the time of this being released, it's a week until I start going. So the reason we're going is because my mum's friend, she had breast cancer. I think it was breast cancer, last year, and she's recently recovered. And my mum hasn't seen her for like 20 years. So I'm really grateful that A, we're able to see that person, and B, my mum's asked me to go with her. So it's a big trip, to be honest. And I don't know how I'm going to be the first week we record. I'll probably still be a bit jet lagged, a bit like what's going on. But I'm excited, man. I'm excited for, and this is probably another thing I should have said I'm grateful for, is that I've got an opportunity to do that. So, yeah, really exciting couple of weeks coming up. And obviously it's Forest v Liverpool on Tuesday as well. So priorities first, mate. I'll be in the A block. So A block massive, mate. But anything else you want to add from this week?
No, I'm very happy. And the one big thing I think everyone should take on board from this podcast is be grateful, reflect, and just notice things in life and be happy for where you are right now, because I'm sure you're doing great, and just keep smashing it, guys. Yeah.
And also, as I said last week, don't be too harsh on yourself. I'll say it every week until you stop being harsh on yourself, because this week I wasn't harsh on myself. I was honest with myself, and I went back to the gym. So that's one thing I can say I've done this week. I've gone back to the gym. Buzzing, man. Absolutely buzzing. But listen, it's been a really good week this week. I would say the takeaways from this: drinking espresso. If you get at least one, just try one, but be careful. Speak to people, and take knowledge. Knowledge is a great thing, and anyone will probably be happy to share their knowledge with you. That's what life's all about: speaking to people and sort of applying things that they've told you to your own journey. Obviously mentors, and just a few things that we've done this week as well. So we hope you've enjoyed this episode. Let us know anything you want us to talk about, or if you've got any questions as well you want to ask, just comment on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts, on YouTube or even on social media, and we'll be definitely answering all of them if we can. So yeah, thank you for listening. That was episode 3. Can't believe we're 3 episodes in already. That is absolutely crazy. But take care, and we'll see you on Tuesday, every Tuesday at 10 a.m. See you very soon. Thanks.
Take care, guys.
Bye. See you in a bit. Feel so right.